Hey guys, it's Jess. Whoa, my face looks sort of ridiculous up. So anyway, I'm gonna be making a video. But before we start, close up. Before we start, I'm gonna talk about yesterday. So yesterday, my cousins, my grandparents, and I went out. And so we went to Friendly's, so it's like I work at a friendly restaurant. And I'm 16, and my cousins are like younger, like they're not even teenagers yet. But anyway, so we like sitting down and like they're giving us some menus. And our grandparents had adult menus, my cousins had kid menus. And then I looked down. I had a kid menu. The waiter thinks that I'm 12 or under. Well, that's the age of one of my cousins, but and my grandmother was like, "That's a good thing for when you're older." Yeah, but now I'm 16. And people said that this haircut of mine made me look older. It kind of does. But anyway, so I was like, okay, I'm gonna have a water, no lemon to the waiter. And he did give me water, no lemon. And it was tiny kids cup, like that are like this big. Okay. My cousin said milk, but so I actually popped a little bubbles in there, like like with a cap, like the bubbles on the top, and you boop 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 on the top. It's pretty cool. I think you know what I'm talking about. They're just this awkward. But who can blame him? I act like a kid sometimes. So we went to this place before Friendly's, and it's like this place you can do mini golf, you can like do these bumper boats games. There's even a place set in there like like one of those play thingies that used to be at McDonald's and used to be at Chuck E. Cheese, and you just go in there and there's like a slide and tubes and all that stuff. It's for people living around there, and I still went in there. I got like a bracelet that's not on me anymore. I went in, we played a version of hide and seek. And my grandfather paid for like these cards for us to play games, and I kept on trying this one game to win a bunch of tickets, so I ended up wasting a bunch of money because I also used my own to keep on playing the game. I barely won anything, but I won a couple of things. I won this thing. It's something for kids because I act like a kid, and you draw in it, and there's like a magnet or something, so you just have to raise it, and it's gone. And I got an Airheads, which I already ate. And I also got, remember it was messy? I also got this cat rubber duck thing that you put in the shower. Like seriously, it's like a cat, but it also has a beak, and it can't really squeeze, and it has wings, and it has like a cat and a duck tail at the same time. Oh, it can't squeak. But anyway, to the point of my video, I'm going to talk about why I think books are better than movies. And I said I think, because I don't want you guys, my one subscriber being like, you can't tell me what to think. I'm just saying my opinion. So I'm going to say why books are better than movies. I love to read, and a couple of years ago, when I was in 8th grade, I actually read a lot, including Divergent. And if you don't know what Divergent is by now, it's like a book in the movie, but like it's a book about like these like groups called factions, and like it's like in the future, of course, and like some are like abnegation, which is like people with like gray houses, and they can't look in the mirrors, and it's really boring and stuff. There's Erudite, that's just like the smart group, the smart faction, and they like know all this stuff, and they know all this stuff, like they know technology, and they're smart. Dauntless, which is like you're fearless, you ride motorcycles, you jump off of trains, you live underground. There's Amity, which is like the really nice nature one. I think there's one more, but I forget. And there's also Factionless, which means they don't pass the training. So when you're 16, which I am, you could like choose a faction and then you train for it. And like if you don't pass the training, then you're factionless and you're technically homeless and all that stuff. So and like if you're divergent, like you can still be in a faction, but divergent means that you're like different than everyone else. You could be and you're meant to be in more than one faction and all that stuff. So it's about like, the main character who's of course divergent, and she like decides to choose Dauntless, and her family's like Dauntless is like the fearless one. Her family's like the boring one or something. So she goes there, she trains and all that stuff. And there's 3 books, and the books were amazing. Like, okay, spoilers are gonna come, so if you're gonna turn this off, then turn it off. So like when she's almost done with her training, which is by the end of the first book, like something happens and like everyone turns into zombies because they got taken over by like this evil thing, and like they try to kill these like the regular people, and since Triss, the main character, is divergent, she didn't get affected by like the zombie thing at all, and she has a best friend named Christina, and Christina like is dating someone named Will, and they're both zombies, and Will and like Christina and Triss are all like friends and all that stuff, but like Will tries to kill Triss and he's a zombie, so Triss has to shoot him. Bang. And in the second book, I forget what happens, it was such a while ago, but like Triss is giving this truth thing, like in front of everyone, so she just like drink the potion, and then she like tells the truth about her shooting Will, and then Christina's like, oh my goodness. But then it's weird, in the movie, it didn't even say that Christina and Will were dating in the first movie. It just said that Christina, Will, and like Triss were like kind of friends, but it didn't even show Will that much. So like you barely even knew Will, you only like knew Christina and Triss. So like I think it shows her shooting Will in the movie, but in the second movie it shows her getting the truth serum, and her like telling the truth. And it keeps on like playing this dramatic music, and it keeps on showing Christina's face over and over again. It's like dun dun dun, I did this, dun dun dun, I did that, dun dun dun. And I'm thinking, people who didn't read the book are like, why does it keep on showing Christina's face? And in the book, it took a while for Christina to forgive Triss, but she had no idea what was going on. She was a zombie when that was happening. Of course she was cured by then, but so like in the second book she's like really mad at Triss, and then something happens where like this only like one girl gets turned into like a zombie, or like 2 or 3 people do, not Christina. So Christina actually sees them and they're taking control, and like she tells Triss, she's like, hey, I can't forgive you now because I realized that you had to shoot Will, and now I know that you weren't trying to kill him. And Triss is like really just realized that, and then Triss just breaks down crying, and there's like a whole moment and they hug, and Christina's like, I forgive you, and I love that. In the movie, Christina gets taken over by like the zombie thing again in the second movie, and she almost falls off a cliff. And Triss is just watching her, and like someone else rescues her, and I'm like, what the? And in the second book, wait, what was I going to say? Oh yeah, I figured like in the second movie, like these people like try to kill whoever's divergent, but like in the movie, they have like these radar guns, and like they check how divergent you are, and like they kill you based off of that. And I'm like, no, you're either divergent or not divergent. There's not like a percentage, and it's super rare to be divergent in the first place, so this has no point to it. And in the books, there's this character named, I forget his name, but he's like a pretty cool character, and I loved him in the third. And here's another spoiler. In the third book, he dies. Something happens, like a crash happens, and he gets into a coma, and they unplug him and all that stuff, and it's sad. Yeah, and in the movies, it barely shows him at all. Like in the first movie, like it shows him like ziplining, but not really much. So like in the third movie, the crash doesn't happen or anything. And I'm like, no, I love that character. How dare you not show him? And I'm not gonna say happens because this is a big thing. So in the third book, something huge happens to Triss. And it's kind of sad, but it's supposed to be that meant the end of the series. In the movie series, that doesn't happen. And I know everyone hated that happened in the book series, but I think it needed to happen in the movie series. And now there might be a fourth movie, or maybe they canceled that. But anyway, yeah. And in books, they explain so much more detail. Like one time we were watching the first movie, Divergent, with the church, and I already read Divergent, so I knew everything that was happening. And like something happened where like someone chose like the different faction from his family, and like the mother cried, and someone was like, "Wait, why is the mom crying?" And I had to tell them. I had to tell them everything that's going on. Because the movies decided not to explain everything, to just go on and be like, "Hey, here you go." I don't just have Divergent examples. There's a Hunger Games. You probably heard about those. And the Hunger Games, it's about like this game for like 12 to 16-year-olds where like teenagers try to like kill each other because like it's in the future and like everyone's poor and stuff, and it's just like fun for the president or something. I don't know. I was in 8th grade and I read that too. And I don't really have much stuff from this series that like is disappointing, but like in the first book, and like in the series, there's this guy named Caesar, and he kind of like runs the games. Not all the 12 to 16-year-olds kill each other. Like 2 people from each like district get chosen, but there's this guy named Caesar who like runs the games. But while I was reading the book, I was like, wait, this is my imagination. So I'm going to call him Cassier. So I always knew him as Cassier, and then I saw the movies. And I heard Caesar, and I was like, ugh, no, it's Cassier, but his actual name is Caesar. And the third book, Mockingjay, like I split into 2 movies, and I watched the first and second movie. I can't forget what happens. In the third movie, Mockingjay Part 1, I watched 20 minutes of it. It is so boring that I turned it off. For me, that is like one of the most interesting books, and it's like all sad and happy at the same time. And it's like just so full of emotion, but it just got boring too quickly. And also there's like this book series I read, and it's called like Delirium or something, and it's about the future, and it's about like this world where like they think that love is like a disease. So like the main character is against love because of something that happened to her mom, but like in the book she falls in love, and like the whole series is like about how dangerous being in love and like running away and like something happening to like the boy and all that stuff, and like, it's really emotional and there's cliffhangers everywhere. And I was trying to look for a movie of it after I read the series, and I saw the first movie, and while I was watching it I was like, what in the world is going on here? It's showing like this boy from the second book, and it barely even showed the girl falling in love in the first book. It just like showed all the government and stuff, and like, I think the girl's best friend Hannah. And I was like, well, I just wasted an hour of my time after watching the movie. So, yeah, that's my rant on why I think this is a rant on why I think that books are better than movies. Thank you for listening, my 1 subscriber, and possibly more.